someone building a home or even just updating a well is the typically it's the well driller that comes to the office and pulls the permit. On the permit, the application for the permit, it is a statement that says something to the effect of, it's up to you to follow up when you with your well test results. Missy, could you by chance tell us verbatim what that statement says, please?
Sure, hold on. Let me just pull up the, actually, it's on the website. Just give me 1 second. Permits and application.
Anyways, Tom, when she gets that, she'll come on. We've had issues, and quite a few, where a builder or a homeowner or somebody will come in when they have a closing or they're getting ready, looking for an occupancy permit. And when they come to Missy, she says, the well did not pass. The well test results did not pass. And there's a misunderstanding somewhere in between. And what I believe it to be is, this was with a conversation with one of our selectmen because of another issue. That's what brought it to light. It seems as though there's a gray area there when typically it's the well driller, and it's not always the well driller that comes in to get the application, fills it out. The homeowner, the builder, whoever never sees that. So they're not aware that they're supposed to chase their results. When the well test results get submitted, they think they're all set. And when it comes down to the wire for, like I said, either a closing or a occupancy permit, they're being held up. So my suggestion is, and after conversation with Tom and Alan, that we need to turn this around and put it on the back of our administrative assistant that she should be notifying people. Have we got your well test results? They've gone to our Board of Health engineer and they do not pass. So you need to do a filter or whatever. Some action needs to be taken. So we want to turn around the process that we currently have. Do you have any thoughts on that, Tom Ryder?
Yeah, so I'm actually looking at the application. So one of the things that you wanted to ask, take a look at is there is a note. It says, please note that it's your responsibility to contact the Board of Health. And perhaps we can, this is when it comes down to the similar to like a building card that we were talking about last time for the septic. Maybe we can add the well on there too, and then have like a note, regarding water quantity and water quality. With the making sure that whoever's the applicant is passing this card in with a checkbox that, it's their responsibility to hold on to the card, but they check it off that we've seen the results and they understand what the results are of some sort.
So you're saying that if there was a, first of all, are you suggesting that it would be the same? Excuse me. Are you suggesting that it would be the same card as the septic with just a different section, or a similar type card specific for wells?
I think we can have. I think we could have it on the same card, and just have like not applicable, like if it's just for a well or if it's just for a septic, and then so everybody can see it, even the installer for the septic system, even though they're not responsible for the well, they kind of sort of are, to make sure that they're, further than 100 feet away. But maybe that's, you know, I'm not sure we should have several different type of forms. I don't want to go form crazy, but maybe this is a good way to track it and get people on the same page.
I was going to dig out my Hopkinton one, the one that I have, and I haven't done that in trade here. I'll get it out. But I'm wondering, is there two? Yeah, there is. There's two sides to the septic one because they want an as-built.
Yeah.
An installer as-built. I'm thinking one side could be specific to wells, one side could be specific to septic.
Yes, I agree. Yes. Yeah.
So Andy, I just want to say, looking on the town's website for a well permit application, it gives out the procedure. And it just says basically fill out the well permit application. The fee is $100. Make the check payable to the town of Mendon. Submit an engineered plan showing the proposed location of new well and distance to the following property line, septic tank, leach field, dwelling, other wells. Give the second page of the quality quantity report to your well driller and they will fill out the form. Number 4, after the well is drilled, the well driller will return the Board of Health. It will return to the Board of Health to complete the package, which is quality quantity report, well completion report, and laboratory results. Chairman of the Board of Health will sign the quality compliance report, which should be taken to the building department for an issuance of a building permit. If there was a problem with the water quality, then the problem must be corrected and retest performed. Otherwise, you will not be able to get an occupancy permit for the building from the building department. Please note that it's your responsibility to contact the Board of Health at 508-634-2656 to find out if your water results passed. If you need to retest, the chairman will examine the results of the retest. If no problems exist, a private well certificate will be issued, which should be brought to the building department for an occupancy permit. And then it's the well permit application, which has that statement highlighted in yellow, and then the certificate of construction/destruction, water quality, quantity compliance report.
Wow, very, very descriptive. You cover it all. Let me ask you a question. Is there a property owner signature line on that?
Well, that's funny that you say that because Tom Fickner came and saw me today, and I gave him a copy of the well permit application, and we were looking at the area, and with our discussions, we could go one of two ways. Is one, you add an email line, and then I've got to email the property owner, or we add a signature line underneath the statement that please note it's your responsibility for the property owner to sign when the permit is submitted to the Board of Health for approval. Am I right?
I like that. Tom Fickner?
Here.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Right.
sorry.
Did I say that right, Tom?
Yes, you did. Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of a follow-up, Andy, to when we talked the other day about it, with the thought being that you could go either way, either to change it up where the BOH will automatically contact a homeowner, or simply modify the form so that the statement that's on the form can still be applicable. But of course, we have to get validation that the homeowner is the one signing the form, which would mean that when Missy and I were talking, that we may want to consider having the homeowner come in and sign the form in our presence, because as we know, sometimes signatures get put on things that don't necessarily belong to the person who signed them.
That's correct. Unfortunately, what I see with that is the hours, the Board of Health office hours don't always conform with people who work on a regular basis. Longer hours, further distances from home, get home late, et cetera, et cetera. So to come into the office is a chore for some people, and it's not easily accomplished. with that line, maybe I missed it, with that line that you're suggesting, the signature line, property owner signature line at the statement, some kind of terminology that says, please read above before signing, above statement before signing, something like that. But as far as going into the office, and ultimately, it would be perfect. I don't think it would work. Alan
No,
Greenberg?
valid point, yeah.
I'm sorry, Tom. Alan, you
Yes,
have something to
I'm
add?
here. Well,
have something to add?
actually, yes, I will. First of all, I want to say what Missy read looks like we pretty much covered it. It's just that people aren't following it.
Exactly.
I mean, so, other than like you guys are talking about, some sort of a signature that they read it, they understand what they have to do when they pull the permit. I don't know how much else we could do. I mean, other than do it for them. I mean, it's spelled out there in a lot more detail than I thought. I mean, it's pretty much step by step, covers it all: quantity, quality, remedial things that need to be done in order for it to pass. It's just people aren't doing it. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I was as surprised as you were, and this is the first that I've actually heard the whole statement, the facts and all, nothing but the facts on the statement. And I'm very impressed by the amount of information in that paragraph. So I'm lost at this point because it's all right there in black and white. I think that the problem is it's just not getting to the homeowners. Tom Ryder, do you have something else at this point?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's pretty good instructions to begin with. I'm not sure how you're feeling is on this, but I think maybe that's like you were saying for the for the septic job card, maybe there's something could help. What the test results are and just kind of plug it in. I'm not sure what the feeling is on that, other than is that just another way to have the homeowner sign off on the card, know that it's going through the process. Their well driller is responsible for it. Part of the permit, they make that part of the permit.
You'd like to believe that if you're employing someone, paying them good money, and well drillers do get a lot of money, there's a lot of cost incurred. I get that. I'm self-employed too. And you'd like to believe that if you're paying that kind of money to someone to act in your behalf, that they would do the job 100% for you, which would include follow the directions on the application.
Right. Yeah. That's why I know. That's why the homeowners hire them. Because they can't deal with it. I mean, that's not their day-to-day thing. It's, ever file a conservation commission permit? Oh my gosh, it's like homeowners try to do it, but they get overwhelmed with it, and that's why they hire somebody to do it. It's
Sure.
Sure. We don't want to be too difficult, but the experts, the companies that actually do the drilling, they know how to do this. They should be able to do it.
So Andy, I just want to make the point that's what's on the town's website. If you look under permits and applications for the Board of Health. So it's not like it's something that someone has to wait for me to email back to them or mail to them, or they can look at that at any time.
All right. Well, your point taken, and I apologize. You don't need any more extra work. Back to Tom Fickner. You had something when I called on Alan. Tom Fickner?
I see him, he's there, but I don't know if, I know he also works nights, so he might be
Except-
doing things in between.
Is that better? Can you hear me now?
Yep. Can hear you now.
All right. It's amazing what happens when you push a button, the right button. Well, what I was going to add was simply that on the well permitted application, even though it's spelled out and it's highlighted for where the responsibility aspect is, there's no place for anyone's signature other than a Board of Health member. So meaning that if we wanted to address this to the attention of the homeowner, we'd have to know that the homeowner is seeing this form for them to
Right.
sign. But if in a lot of cases, it sounds like the well drillers are actually pulling these applications, then we should at minimum have a signature line for them to sign, saying that they are taking on the responsibility and acknowledging that they will. Because right now we don't have a signature line for any entity other than a BOH member.
I'm in agreement. I agree. Is there room on the form? And is that something that you can change, Missy, with the push of a button, or do they go to printers nowadays?
Oh, no, it's something that I can change it to whatever you guys want it to do. It doesn't.
I like very much the acknowledgement of a signature. Ultimately, I'd like to see two, the well driller and the homeowner. Because I've had to fill out applications before, and I've had to take the application to the homeowner, and obviously, like Tom said, you can go out in the parking lot, sign Joe Bacciagalup, and nobody would know. I have taken them to the homeowners and had them sign it so that they can acknowledge what they've signed. So that is a good. I like that plan. That is a good idea. I'd like to see that. If we could.
So Andy, I just want to jump in real quick. So I'm on the town of Upton's website, and I don't play bashful. I will steal whatever ideas I can get from other towns. So in their well permit application, they have a section that says, I have read the Upton Board of Health private well regulations and agree to comply with all requirements of the document. I understand I must submit a water quality analysis, well driller's report, and disinfection document within 30 days of the completion of my well. It says my well. So I don't know if my comes out as the well driller or the property owner, but
Either way,
we could look at adding a little statement like that.
absolutely. I like that.
I'm going to try and look real quick on the town of Northbridge to see what they have.
I like the
Mr.
fact
Chairman?
that. Okay, 1 second, Alan. Thank you. I like the fact that statement says, I acknowledge. That gives us credence that, okay, it's off our backs. It's up to you now. Go ahead, Alan.
I like the idea of having two signatures, the well driller and the property owner of at that particular date, whether it be a builder, homeowner, whatever. Whoever the property owner is at that date, I think, that way there's two parties, like you said, that know what the responsibilities are. So, if someone didn't do something, they can duke it out at closing. It's not us that's trying to hold them up or pull something over on them. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm in total agreement. I think we all are. And one other thing I just thought of, I don't know if this is a possibility to do, but how about a two-part application? So when the second signature is signed, the homeowner can keep a copy because they don't have not everybody has a photocopy, a copying machine. but it could be a two-part, which is probably getting complicated now, but
Yeah,
we're trying to,
yeah,
we're trying to alleviate a serious situation, and I know that associates a cost with it, but at least that way, the homeowner has it to review when the well driller has gone and they have time to sit down with their copy and read what they signed. Go ahead, Missy.
Mr. Chairman,
Missy first.
Okay, so if you want to have like a carbon copy, is that what you're kind of talking about, or?
Yeah, whatever it takes. Now we're talking forms and
Right, now you're
special
talking
orders
about
and stuff.
printing it, sending it out to a printer, which that will get costly, and, I mean, we can do it, absolutely, but then if you guys decide to change something, we've got to throw out all those forms, send it back out to the printer.
Okay, so, when you submit when you print an application, somebody comes in and says, I want to drill a well at 101 Blackstone Street. How
Yeah,
about if you gave them 2 copies?
sure.
And then maybe you could handwrite on it, all property owner, Board of Health, that would alleviate any issues there. What do you think of that?
You can do that too. Just so I'm on Northbridge's well application, and there is a section that says, I have read and understood the requirements of the Northbridge Board of Health regulations governing the installation of well and agreed to abide by them. And there's a signature of applicant and a date. So,
Okay, but still at that point, it could be the well driller and we could still be facing a void in the transaction.
sure, so you could take that simple statement and then just put in well driller's signature and date, and then above, put homeowner or property owner's signature and date.
Yeah, I like that. Alan?
as far as a copy is concerned, we all have a handheld computer that is capable of taking pictures in our hand at all times. I don't see why someone couldn't just take a picture of it and read it later.
Well, a couple
Back to you,
reasons.
Mr. Chairman.
Couple reasons. First of all, I know at least 5 or 6 people, friends of mine, customers, that still have flip phones and can't take pictures. Tom Ryder, do you have something at this point?
No, I'm just trying to listen in on what you're saying, and just willing to work with Missy on trying to resolve some of these things in order to facilitate just getting the information and getting the whoever it is, a homeowner applicant, back whatever is required that we figure out. But the well drillers are, we need to get them on board
Yeah.
to make sure that they comply.
So I'm liking the idea of the 2 signature lines, well driller and property owner. Tom Fickner?
I too like the idea of the 2 signatures. If we go that way, however, do we have to clarify this highlighted statement? Because right now the wording is, please note that it is your responsibility. So if we're looking for 2 signatures, the homeowner and the well driller, do we need to refine the word your in any way?
I think at that point they would sort it out. You do it. No, you do it.
Okay.
That's my guess. I mean, we could beat this one forever, but I think we're close to a change that would facilitate some good stuff for us to make everything work well. Alan Greenberg, one more time.
Yeah, as we're going through this, again, I do like the 2 signatures. It shows that the property owner and the well driller are aware of what's going on. The more I think about this whole situation, I'm really surprised that we're having this problem, because there are so many good people involved in this process, and it seems as though even a good realtor before the closing would make sure that everything was in order before they show up at D-Day. Especially where, you know, this situation seems to happen sporadically. I would think that a good realtor, a good builder would be able to head these problems off with prior experience. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Would like to believe that, but it just keeps happening. And of course, the one that it's currently happening with is not a builder. He is a contractor, but he's not a builder. So this is the first time for his house. I don't know who his well driller was, but Missy, do we have to make a motion to make a change in the application for a two-signature line, one being contractor, one a well driller, and one being a property owner?
I would say not right now. I would say let me get some samples together for you guys. And the next meeting, you guys can post it. I can add it to the agenda so that way outside people will have a chance to see what the different versions are. And then we'll just go at the next meeting. You guys look at it. You say it's good, then that's what we go with. Because I don't think in your private well regulations it actually states what your application looks like. You know, it's like, it's not part of that regulation, so you don't need to have a public hearing or anything because you're going to change it.
All righty. So could you do that for us, please, so we could have it for the next meeting?
Yep.
Thank you. Does anybody have anything else on this subject?
Andy, then what I would suggest, if you guys are all right with it, what I'll do is, once you guys finalize what the permit is going to look like, I will mail out a copy to, I'll look at the last past, like say 5 well drillers who's drilled wells in town, and I will send them a copy of it so they've been, I mean, we don't have to, but it gives them the heads up.
Could you, I know there was very minimal difference between Upton and Northbridge.
Mhm.
Could you, is it possible that you can cut, copy, paste, and email both of those easily without too much headache so that I can review, or we can all review and decide if we like either one or a mix of them?
Yep, while you guys were talking, I also looked at Uxbridge, so I can send you all 3. The wording's very similar. So I can send you all 3, and then you guys can figure out how you want the wording to be. Yep.
Great. Plagiarism at its finest.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. The sign-off card, you had sent an email with the proposed sign-off card.
Yeah, that was just something I threw in real quick. I just knew that there are 3 inspections, and I was just going to leave it at that. But then I'm like, well, what happens if it's rejected and you need to have a signature for what inspector rejected it? So it kind of got a little bit longer. But it's just something for you guys to start thinking about and giving you guys some ideas.
I thought I had one right here, but for Hopkinton, I don't know where it is right now. I have a septic system pending that I need to start, and I can't find the card here right now.
I'm looking for it too, Andy. I swear I had a whole stack of them at one time.
Tom, do you know of other towns around that use the card?
No, I don't. This is when I was working in Hopkinton, this is what we came up with. That was like back in 2004. And that was kind of like an agreement with the engineers, the installers, and the Board of Health to put together, because we were getting a whole host of, when I started there, we were getting a whole host of failed systems suddenly. And these installers and the developers were not keen on increasing the size of the system. So they said, part of these problems were because the installer, specifically the installer, they were pointing out a couple installers. They were not building per plan. They were skimping on size and stuff. And so they said one of the ways we can protect it is have this card, so the engineer actually does the measurements, and the installer certifies the actual location on a sketch, not an actual certification, but so I remember the layout. I just can't find it. It's I think what Missy has is I think pretty much it was name, location. I'm not sure we had owner's information on there, but installer and permit number, and a checkbox for inspection for the bottom.
I just have one thing on this one that you made, Missy.
Mm-hmm.
I like that, so far I like everything that I've seen, and I like that it's, has an area for reinspection with the information for that, but I don't think that we need 4 or 5, whatever it is, for the bottom, because there are 3 inspections for the systems. And actually we need room for a pump, system, inspection for floats and flow test. So, there would be need for component inspection, final grade inspection, and with signatures. And then, like I say, if it's a pump system, there's a separate section for that. I gotta find this one from Hopkinton and get it to you so you can see what I'm talking about. But I do like this situation that we had up on Butler Road that we all spoke of this week would be alleviated if we had this card. Tom Fickner, do you have any thoughts on this?
I think we've covered it.
Okay. Alan Greenberg, do you have any thoughts on this?
No, I'm on board with anything we can do to alleviate problems down the road. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll just have to tweak the amount of information and get it to you, Missy, and have you put something together again so we can look at it again next meeting. And we'll probably take 2 or 3 times to get it tweaked the way we want it, and then just make a decision. But I think the card is a good thing. The one, just so you know, Missy, the ones that we get in Hopkinton, and I know you have this ability with your printer, it's actually a cardboard. It's a bright yellow cardboard. So it's not indestructible, but it's better than just a piece of paper like a building permit.
Yeah, I would order card stock for it, but I would not choose yellow. I'll choose a different color because the cards that are out for building permits are yellow. So I think we just want to make sure that they can quickly, especially if it's new construction of a new home, differentiate between the differences of what a Board of Health one is and what a building department one is.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, I will locate this and get it to you. If you looked on, I don't think it is on their website, the card, but I have another. I have to meet with Brian Besser and get another card in the next couple of weeks, so I will make sure I get it to you. 123 Uxbridge Road. You got the return card for the certified mail.
Yeah.
And nothing's been done. We haven't heard from them or nothing. But on your trips to Uxbridge, have you noticed? I haven't been by that way in a while. Have you noticed that are the containers still full of refuse?
Yeah. Yeah, it hasn't changed. I can tell because there's something in one of the dumpsters. It's big in blue, like a sky blue color. And that's how I know that the dumpsters, it's not like they changed out a dumpster but just replaced it with another one. It's the same exact stuff because that blue thing is still in there.
Okay. So we haven't heard. Did you sent an email to Bill Ambrosino? I know he's got a lot going on right now, health-wise. but we haven't heard it from anybody from the planning board to, as far as what they'd like to do or work with us on this. And how about with Lori Ann? Has she been notified?
Lorianne has been, in fact, she did take a couple of pictures, and she emailed them to me. What was it hold on. I meant to send these to you guys, so I'll do it right now. These are the pictures that she took last Friday. And I'll send them to you guys now. I thought I did, but I don't think I did.
Tom Ryder, you familiar with the property we're talking about?
Are we on the, you're on the containers? The
Yep.
granite?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Yes. Got any suggestions for our next course of action?
So what was the last thing that we did? Did we send out a letter to them? Give them time to mitigate,
We
make corrections?
We sent a letter, I think it was in March, the beginning of March, certified. It finally came back. It's in the office with no answer or anything from the property owner. I know Tom had reached out to Jim McQuaid out in DEP to see if there's anything that DEP would be able to help us with. And they needed photographs with timestamps. I know that if you take a picture with your iPhone and take a snapshot of the picture, it will give you the date. And I wasn't sure if that would satisfy DEP, what they exactly mean by a date stamp. So I don't know if that will help. And then maybe they would help us out because I know they've had trouble with this particular entity in other towns.
Who did you speak with at DP? Jim?
That'd be Tom, did you talk to Jim McQuaid?
I did, yeah, Tom, I spoke with Jim McQuaid. He's the section chief at DEP. And he had indicated that he was willing to let the local board provide evidence, pictorial evidence that then they could act on. Essentially, they were looking for photographs, and I think ideally that they'd be time-stamped for validation, basically 3 days in a row, showing basically taking the picture from the same point of view each time. And that would be enough evidence for them to then take that and then have them reach out and deal with the issue.
Can you send me a copy? And I'm going to be heading over there in that area tomorrow. So I can take a few pictures at Vantage Point to start. It's day one, Thursday.
Missy, you said you had a camera in the office that does that do timestamps?
I don't have one in the office. It's my own personal camera. So
Okay.
I gotta charge it up. I haven't used it in a while.
So
Yeah,
that's all right. If it doesn't do timestamps, then that's okay. I thought it was Board of Health property. That's okay.
oh no.
Tom Ryder, does your phone do timestamp?
I'll have to check. It's there is a timestamp, electronic timestamp, but I can see if it will do also a photo timestamp. It's there might be there may be on the app. There might be a way to do that. I'll have to check.
I have a Galaxy phone. I had it turned on at one point, but every time I do an upgrade, I lose all kinds of stuff and I don't have it again. There is a way to do it. I'd have to try to figure out it again.
Yeah, there is always a timestamp on the phones, and even so that every photo going through like a court system is subject to examination for the actual time, regardless. But I'll see if there's a way to, on my phone, I'll see if there's a way to do that. In settings.
on my phone, the pictures do have an electronic stamp on what I'll call the next page if you slide them up. But I used to have it where it would show up on the picture itself, date and time. And again, I lost that, but I'll have to try and figure it out. So if you're going to this area tomorrow, do you have means to do that with a timestamp?
Yeah, I'll take a look to see if I can.
Okay,
I'll do it on that, yeah.
thank you. 12 Sandra Circle. Tom Ryder, are you aware that this house, and Missy, Missy, did you find out, has the house actually been sold yet?
It has not. It's on the market.
Yeah, I spoke with Fred last week, and he said he just told me he said I need the form for the deed restriction, so I sent it over for him. And he said he's got a plan. So there's two things that I asked him to do. One was do the deed restriction. The other is to put a plan layout for the Board of Health record, to show that that it's really is a 4-bedroom. So he's got that ready. He said he's just going to ask the owner to come in to sign the form, and then he's going to come in. We sign it, and he records it.
Yeah, that's got to be done soon, because if that house sells, we're going to lose that capability, aren't we?
Yes. Yeah. So there. The owner, he said the owner is going to do it. He said he just hasn't called the owner in. So I said, Fred, you better, because we're waiting on this right now.
Yeah.
So he acknowledged it. He asked. He said he for some reason he knew we were discussing it tonight. And I said, I'm not sure we are. I'm not sure we're discussing this specifically, or the cases where there are multiple issues similar to this that we need to address, such as, doing the job cards and things like that. Oh, yeah, by the way, with the job card, we are starting to issue actual installer permits, so we can put these together with the installer permit. We have the job card and the installer permit together. So when we're ready to do the job card, we can do that. But so I just talked to him today, and he was promising me that he was going to call the guy in to sign the form.
So,
Okay.
Andy, I was talking to Tom Fickner about this earlier today, and my thing is, the guy wanted his roofing permit released because he wanted to get the work done. And I think this shows again that if the Board of Health wants some kind of paperwork, whether it's a deed restriction, whatever the case may be, we get that paperwork in hand before I release any building permits. Because here we are again, we're relying on someone who's got the house on the market. This is not something new. This is something that's been going on for a while. And we're going to lose the opportunity to make sure that things are done properly, because I released that permit because I thought we were, they had talked to Fred. Fred and Tom had done a walkthrough of the house. It seemed like we were on track on something, and then nothing's being done. The house is up for sale. So I'm not going to release any more building permits and say it's okay if there's an outstanding Board of Health issue, until we get what we need first. I've done this a couple of times, and I've yet to get what the Board of Health needs.
Yeah, what's been promised, and it's
Exactly.
broken promises. The routing slip, it works. It's got to be held accountable, though.
Right.
Alan Greenberg, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm glad that at least the Board of Health has a little bit of spine. Well, no, I mean,
Okay.
if someone doesn't, if someone doesn't stand up and stop the process and say, hey, hey, something's not right here. It's not complete. People are just gonna run over the town of Mendon. So keep going, Missy. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Tom Fichtner, any thoughts? Thank you.
I was signaling to Missy when she was talking. 2 thumbs up and an A-OK. We have the process for a reason. And I think it's a good process. And if we try to kind of, let something go to help, as Missy stated, we saw where we got burned a little bit. So I say we stick with the process. People are going to have to learn to respect it. It's there for a reason. And unless we're doing something that's not considered proper, because I think there was some issue about, we had some conversation a while back about this whole routing thing in general. As long as this is a viable legal process for us to be following, I say we continue to follow it. Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. Missy, back a while back, I don't know if it was the very last issue we had, someone circumventing the routing slip. It was an issue with a boiler and looking for a Title V inspection. Did we get the Title V inspection on said property?
No,
No kidding.
no.
No kidding.
So, and that's another thing I think we gotta just start stepping that up is, when these letters, I think we get ignored a lot. Doesn't matter if I send it certified or not. And, I think you guys have to start getting to be a little bit more of enforcement, meaning that you sent the letter, you were notifying you, it's been certified mail, that, I've always say we're here to educate, we're here to get people to be in compliant. But when you have people who take advantage of that blatantly, I think sometimes that's when the enforcement side and possible fining or whatever the mechanism has to be used, because like Alan said, if we don't start enforcing some of this stuff after you've tried educating people, they're just going to walk over the people, the rules and regulations of the town of Mendon.
Excuse me. Didn't Holliston Septic come in and get an application of some sort or information on that
Yes.
property to do the Title
Yep.
V inspection?
Yeah.
Would you shoot off a letter to Hopkinton Septic and just very briefly, haven't heard from you, what's going on at this address?
What's the address?
For the Title V, it was
Yeah.
23 Uxbridge Road, I believe. Or it's on a corner lot. It could be also considered 1 Hartford Avenue West.
Oh,
Do you know the one we mean, Tom?
I'm looking it up right now.
It's
On
an
Hartford.
old,
I don't see it on, yeah.
Tom Ryder, let me just tell you a fast update. So the property was bought and the furnace needed to be upgraded. So the routing slip got generated by the plumbing department. It made the rounds. It got to the Board of Health. Missy said no, because we need a Title V inspection because the house has been sold.
Yeah.
The building inspector came in, the property owner stomped his feet, cried, carried on, and phone call to Missy. And the building inspector came in and threatened Missy per se, saying that the routing slip is against the law. You can't hold the property hostage. And the routing slip was released. She did not sign it, but she let it go with the promise that we would get a Title V inspection. And the new furnace went in, and nothing has happened since then, with the exception that Holliston Septic came in and talked to Missy. Missy, is there an application that he pulled, or was he just there to get information?
He was looking for information so he could do a Title V inspection.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, Missy, I think I remember you telling me about something about the building inspector saying this to you.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was a property, it was on,
It's actually been a couple of properties, and I've found out recently that the building inspector has requested that the assessors be taken off the routing slip and the treasurer collector's office be taken off. So right now, the only ones that are left on are the Board of Health, depending on what town, part of the town, the Historical Commission, and the Water Department.
Isn't there a
What about-
requirement that they pay their taxes before they get any permits?
We have a bylaw in town stating that,
Yeah,
and I you know, I don't know enough about that stuff to say who's right or who's wrong. But we do have a town bylaw. I know Tom Fickner wants to say something.
Okay, 1 second, please, Tom. Would Jean be able to join our meeting? She could enlighten us on that sometime, right, Missy?
She could, absolutely.
Okay, maybe we should invite her to the next meeting for this subject. So just to recap real quick, the electrical department and the plumbing department are not included in the routing slip anymore?
Yes, well, that they are part of it as far as there's a different routing slip. So there's a building permit routing slip, there's an electrical permit, and there's a plumbing permit. And
So
a
they're the
gas,
ones that generate it.
right, from the
Okay.
building department.
They're the ones that generate it. Tom Fickner,
And-
thank you for waiting.
Oh, sure. So I'm just curious then, who is the authoritative body regarding this routing process?
I don't know. It comes from the building department, but who has authority over what and how it actually works, I don't know. I do know that there are parts of the building code that they don't mimic like Title V or anything, but they do mention certain things that the Board of Health would get involved in. Like, I can't remember, it used to be years ago, if you were going to build a new house, you needed a copy of an approved septic plan from the Board of Health and a well permit with all of the well analysis, the well completion reports, all the paperwork before you even got a permit. And over the past few years, that has gone by the wayside because everybody just says, we'll just pick that up at the OP. So how much of this is, with the building code and everything, I don't know how much, what the authority is on all of that.
Well, this routing process, this is a town, I understanding is anyway, this is a town process, right?
Correct.
Right?
For certain. Right now, the viewpoint is only for building department. It's supposed to branch out eventually so that even includes our permits. But I have to send out a paper copy out to the treasurer collector and to the assessor. So right now, it's only building department that the routing slip goes through that process.
So
Tom, FYI, the town of Milford uses a routing slip also.
yeah, see, I was under the impression that every department is involved in this routing process.
It all depends on what kind of a permit it is. So like if you have a home occupation permit generated from the building department, the town clerk will get involved in that because they should have a business certificate on file with her. So it really depends on what kind of a permit it is, determines on what department should be involved. Like for whatever reason, highway doesn't sign off, but there's and that's been the question too, is when you go through the routing slip, it's supposed to be any permit that's issued, and there's a list in the town bylaw, but there's no routing process from the highway department, and they issue driveway permits. So it's a lot of the time it's because of the building department does a lot more permits, if that makes any sense.
So do we know who the building inspector is making the request of to remove elements from his routing permit process?
My understanding is he got the permission of the town administrator.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but-
I know we've always wanted to have a meeting. There was always been supposed to be a meeting with all the departments involved, and then COVID's happened, so, but I think if there's a point in time where we can get the departments together in-house, there definitely needs to be some kind of a discussion as far as if you're gonna tell me that because of an electrical, permit, you can't hold it up because of Board of Health, okay. But there's only certain reasons why I want to know about a plumbing permit or a electrical permit, and it all stems back to a property that did a pool house without hooking into the septic system properly that we're aware of. So, and the only reason that was caught was because I happened to see the plumbing permit. So that otherwise, typically I don't care about plumbing permits.
I
Other than see
thought,
what's being
I
constructed.
thought the idea of this whole process was so that all the departments would be on board so that no matter what was being requested, the idea was that the property would basically get a look-see by all the various groups in town to cover all the bases. Now it seems like one particular department in particular wants to skip rounding the bases and go basically from first to second to home.
Kind of, I mean, I know, then their argument is you can't hold up a building permit against the building code. If anyone brought them into before the state, if someone complained saying you held them up because of a trash hauler, you can't hold up a building permit for that.
So that goes to that question I know we had a while back as to whether or not this routing process is considered legal for us to do. Do we ever get a response to that? Did we ever pose the question?
I can't remember if we posed the question, but I know I've asked about meetings and getting people together to find out what the process should be.
I mean, is it
As
just
far
a
as
matter,
legal.
is it just a matter of simply being able to send out basically like an email ask, say of Cindy, say Cindy, as you're probably aware, we have a routing process here in town that we implement. We're trying to determine from your knowledge of this process, is this considered a legal process that we can follow? Because otherwise, you're going to have, you got this gentleman in the building department making, well, I'll say at this point, accusations. At this point, they're unfounded because we don't know that it's an illegal process. I would say, let's get validation whether it's legal or not, right?
Yep, I would say though, you have to go through Kim to get permission to talk to town council.
That's fine, yeah. I mean,
You know,
that's,
yep.
does that sound like something we could reasonably put an ask for?
Mhm.
Andy, Alan, what do you think?
I agree. Alan?
I'm on board. I mean, I was under the assumption that this whole routing slip process was an attempt to plug holes. We all know that the paperwork archives have a lot of holes in them. So if someone is going to put an addition on their house and owes back taxes or whatever it is, it gives the town an opportunity to bring it to their attention in a helpful way to plug some of these holes and make up for all the gaps in our town's paperwork that has existed for a long time. Might give the town an opportunity to collect some money or a permit fee that was overlooked. I think it's a great idea. I mean, it's not meant to tell anybody they can't do something. It's just meant to bring to their attention that you need to clean up this old business before you do new business.
Mhm.
Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
It's called accountability. We have a mechanism in place to, like you said, bring everything up to snuff. And I think it's a great process myself. I would love to hear council's take on that. Tom Ryder, do you have anything else on this for us, please?
I believe, the building permit requirements are that the the building inspector can hold up occupancies for specifically if there is no suitable wastewater disposal or water supply. For conservation commission efforts and stuff like that, they do not specifically have the authority under the code. However, there is some leadway that a building inspector can say, yes, you need to comply with wetlands. But it depends on the inspector on how they interpret the code. But it's very clear that the code is that they need a suitable disposal of wastewater and a suitable potable water supply. And that means the Board of Health needs to review such permits. Usually it's a proposed construction, but being on the card, we can identify whether there is a Title V inspection. We can't confirm that there's a suitable disposal for the site.
So it's good for them to oversee us, but we can't piggyback on them to help get us in compliance.
Well, they got to follow the code.
Building code.
The building code, and the building code requires that there is suitable. And they're putting themselves at risk if they're making that interpretation.
Well, I think it's more than just a new construction home. Like I know and we hold up permits. I'll reject a permit. Other departments will reject it if they are waiting for something to come through. So I don't know if the building inspector is thinking we're holding permits hostage, which I guess we are, because I will reject if someone's re-roofing. And maybe I'm wrong and someone can tell me I'm wrong, and that's perfectly fine. But if someone's re-roofing and I don't know where that debris, who's taking it and where it's being disposed, I'll hold it up. And if they're not licensed in Mendon, I'll hold it up until you tell me who's going to be a licensed hauler to remove asphalt shingles. Now, if I'm wrong, Tom Ryder, go ahead, and you know that that's not allowed, I'll stop doing it. But if someone's going to replace a door, I don't hold that up. If someone's going to if someone's doing some kind of ventilation, like blown insulation, and they need a permit, I don't hold that up. It's when you're going to be, if someone's removing all the windows in their homes, well, how do we know if they're lead paint windows or not? So are they being properly disposed of? And I want to know that it's a licensed hauler. If it's going to be the construction company, then the construction company can go through and get the proper hauler license, and then they can haul all they want. And I do have 2 roofing companies that they do pull annual permits with us so that they can be the hauler for the shingles, and they tell us where they're disposing of them. If that's wrong, let me know, and I will stop doing all of that.
So as far as the building permit, usually the building permit application has a location where you're supposed to be disposing, and the applicant has to write that in. We're probably not getting that info. I'm not sure why they can't share that.
They don't put it, so when we get the routing slip, and the routing slip is part of the building permit, so I can see the application and stuff, and they don't list that. So if they don't say it, then I'll hold it up and say, we need to know it's being disposed of properly. And then if it's not, who's the hauler that's hauling it?
Right.
And I've held up many apartments when they tell me one was Hi-Ho Containers or something out of Seekonk or something. I'm like, they're not a licensed hauler in town. You have to, and it gets to the point where I actually take the link from the website and paste it into the comment section of it and tell them, these are the people you can choose from. Now, if that's okay, I'll keep doing it. And I do reject a building application for that. I
think that's appropriate. By looking the other way, we're just approving it. If we say nothing, we're approving it. So
Right.
if you're, if you, I think there's an appropriate comment. If they're a trash hauler, if they're a septic installer, these are the things that we review.
Right. And so if I reject an application, they can't get their permit from the building department until I get the satisfactory information.
Yeah. And so they use the wrong guy, then, so choose either get that guy approved or
Okay.
choose another one.
And like I say, I try to be reasonable. Someone's
Yeah.
replacing their front door, I'm not going to chase them down for a front door. But if you're telling me you're re-siding your house or you're re-windowing the entire house, yeah, I want to know where it's being disposed of and that it's being done properly.
Okay, right.
So, sorry, Andy.
No, don't be sorry. It's all good stuff, Missy. You're doing your job well.
And this really started happening more recently when there's started to, with the new system, right?
Yeah, when we started using Viewpoint because I'd always marked comments on the paper form, missing a Title V inspection or back then it was even more for the Title V inspections. And, they'd be pulling a renovation and a house would sell and I have no Title V and nothing was ever done. So now because I have something to hold, now it's all coming to light.
Right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if we don't do this, all the guys and gals that are applying for their annual trash hauler license, septic installer license, etc., we're not protecting them. We have to be fair, to those guys and gals that are complying and applying for their permits and giving us all the information that, they're legitimately in business, they're disposing of things correctly, they have the right licenses. And I would say that eventually someone could probably come back at us if something goes wrong for not doing our job. Back to you, Mr.
That's
Chairman.
actually happened, Alan, when somebody's not playing by the rules. The comment has been made to Missy, how come I have to pay and play by the rules, but this guy doesn't? That has happened.
Yep. I also stop it if there's a question on the application, will there be a portable toilet on the property? And if they say yes, well, I want to know who is the company. And if they're not licensed, again, I hold up that permit until I know it's a licensed portable toilet company or a septic company.
You all set, Alan?
All set.
Tom Fickner, anything else?
Nope, I'm good, thank you. Good discussion.
All righty. So at this current point, Missy, you're going to reach out to Kim to get permission to talk to council, correct?
Yes, and find out what's the legalities of the routing slip process with the building department as is. And mind you, if they, I know Dan has talked about they wanted to do the selectmen next for their permits and the route and have the same setup. But they haven't gotten to a point that Laura's ready to do that. And he said, so the Board of Health might be the next one. And I said, fine. I mean, if they want to use us as the next grouping of permits that go through that same type of process, no problem. We'll work it. And to me, it's all about keeping people in compliance. And so if Gail came to me and said, you know what, don't issue that Board of Health permit because we're waiting for X, Y, or Z, or if it's the conservation or, whatever it might be. So that way everybody's playing in the same sandbox with the same toys and everybody knows what's going on.
It's called policing. It gives us some teeth to support our rules and regulations, and not all of them are stuff that we've made up. It's state and federal stuff. So it gives us when we get very frustrated when we have no way of enforcement action on someone who's not playing by the rules. This is that tool for us, and it's trying to be taken away. It's wrong.
Right. So I'll definitely reach out and see what I can get for us.
Thank you. Any
So
updates on COVID?
COVID, I've kind of talked to all of you guys, either on the phone or in the office, just to let you know, because I took a picture of it. Last Thursday, when the clinic closed, we had been open for a month, and we had given out 8,433 shots at that time. So we're doing very well. The state is going to be upping the amount of doses. Yesterday when I sent you guys the text, it was supposed to be 5,000 doses. They scaled it a little bit back. They lessened it by 1,100. So we're getting almost 4,000 doses. So things will start ramping up. People are very thankful, very happy. We're actually going to start going into the high schools next Wednesday. And next Wednesday, they are going to go into Northbridge and Uxbridge for students that are 16 and older, because we have Pfizer, and that is the one that is given to the teenagers. On Friday, we will go into Nipmuc and BBT. I talked to both I've been in touch with both of the nurses of those schools, and they're very excited. I've also been in touch with Joe Maruschek. He's very excited for Mendon Upton. And I'm hearing, when I've gone to the clinics from Diane, that other school districts are very interested in having the Southern Worcester County come in and vaccinate their students. They're hoping to, by doing that, maybe they can give some of the seniors their graduation, maybe some semblance of a prom. So it's very, very exciting. I know Andy will be at the clinic next Thursday, so you'll see Tom Ryder. I think Tom is getting his second shot that night. And
Yep.
So it's all good. It's, people are just so thrilled and so happy. But I do want to say that if you do know anybody that is having a hard time getting an appointment, they are more than welcome to call the office, and I will help them the best I can to schedule them an appointment, so that way we can get shots in arms. And Tom has his hand up. I'm sorry.
Okay,
What time, Tom?
Tom,
Is, that's all.
go ahead with that.
Just curious what time his appointment was.
My appointment, I believe, is at 6 o'clock,
Awesome.
with the family.
Good, very nice.
And then the other thing bringing into COVID is, if you guys, I sent you guys a copy of the new and latest and greatest V&A bill. So I am just waiting to hear from you guys and to see if that satisfies what you were looking for as far as information on a bill.
Pretty vague. Tom Fickner, I know you've got something to say about it.
Yeah, I don't know if you gentlemen saw, I responded via email. So I was not happy with it.
I did see that. Alan, do you have something to say about that?
I didn't review it. However, I have been very unimpressed. Back to you, Chairman.
Agreed. So currently we're doing nothing about that?
Correct. I mean, we can send them another letter state, I didn't think it would have to come down to that, but, do you need we want to know how many people, how many, actually, I guess we have to actually spell it out. But I have, you guys gave me permission to sign and take care of your bills. This is one of those aspects that until I get a board vote to pay those bills, they're going to sit on my desk.
How long do you think we're going to go before we get hit with lack of service due to non-payment?
I don't know, because I know other towns aren't willing to pay it. And the VNA nurses are there in Uxbridge giving shots. So I don't know.
Have you had any conversations at the clinic with, oh my God, I can't think of her name.
Ann?
Ian Labonte. Have you
Uh,
had any conversations with her about the current situation?
Not about the contract, no. I have
Okay,
not.
that would probably
'Cause I don't
be
know.
understood.
I don't know if it's appropriate for me to talk to her
Yeah, that's what I
about
was just saying.
her employer's contract with my employer.
Did you get any response from that other company that we tried to get together with? Is it
No.
dead fall at dead
I
end?
Yep, nope, I sent, follow-up emails and I haven't heard anything.
Huh. Interesting. All right,
Mr. Chairman,
sir.
we may be running into a situation where, because of the pandemic, most companies out there that service municipalities similar to ours could very well be overwhelmed. Is it possible and is it appropriate for us to make a counter offer to the VNA? They're looking for X and we're willing to pay X minus and see if they're willing to negotiate with us, just in case we have to do business with them, let's say for another year, because I believe we have to have that type of a service as a Board of Health.
That's true, we do.
So I don't know if that's an option. They're looking for 17.5. We can only afford X minus. Are they interested in providing a service? They can come back and say no, or they can come back and say, yeah, we can. Back to you,
Missy, I'm wondering if, when you do get permission, hopefully she'll allow it. I don't know why she would deny it, but who knows with her. When you get to talk to Cindy, is this something that you can have a conversation with Cindy about?
Sure.
And what we've right from the start, right from the get-go, the entire story, so
Yep.
that she knows everything. And maybe she would be able to shoot off a letter to VNA and say, hey, what's going on? Alan, what you said didn't fall on deaf ears. I don't currently, unless my mind gets changed, I don't agree with it. I don't think that partial payment, without conversation, maybe partial payment would be okay at some point, but without conversation of some sort with Sam and VNA, just giving them part of it. I don't know. I could be wrong. I'd be open to hearing other thoughts, but I just don't think that we should just.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I believe I confused things for you. I wasn't talking about this $3,500 a month they're trying to hold us up for on a monthly basis, and we can't get our questions answered. I'm talking about a 1-year annual contract where in July we have to be online with someone, whether it be Salmon VNA or another VNA system, because we have to have that service as a Board of Health, and they're asking, I believe, for 17.5 up from 5,500 approximately. I'm talking about negotiating that annual 1-year contract that we have with the VNA, not this supplemental $3,500 a month charge that I almost feel as though we're being held up. So I've confused you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize. Back to you.
So you want to renegotiate a 1-year contract?
Yes, I'm afraid. Well, I want to make a counter offer. they've offered to provide us a year of service for approximately 17.5. If we don't find someone else and the clock is ticking, I don't want to be on the hook for 17.5 with someone that I don't trust 100%.
Yeah,
So what I'm proposing is a counter offer. We can only afford X.
do you have
know,
something
can
in
you
mind? as
provide-
far as- Go ahead.
No, but
Just
anything would be better than 17.5. That's a 300+% increase. That's absolutely unacceptable. But by law, it's my understanding, we as a Board of Health have to have that service. So I'm trying to lessen the blow if we have to do business with the devil. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
No, I understand. Do you have anything in mind? This delay on the phones is tough, and I didn't wait my turn. I'm sorry. Do you have anything in mind as far as suggestions to formulate the contractors? What can we take? What can't we take? What can we do? What can't we do? Alan?
I think that, I think we could discuss it as a board, what we feel would be a reasonable increase. Maybe we could get, I don't know, somebody that has a little professional experience. I know, Tom, your wife is in the nursing industry along with your daughter. There could be, things that I'm not taking into consideration that would be a reasonable increase from the 5,000 approximately that we're paying. And like I said, make a reasonable offer that's not where we're at. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Tom Fickner, any thoughts on this?
Well, I know we've been focused on the monthly thing. With regard to the new contract being proposed, do we actually have a breakdown that identifies the services within that contract?
Hold on. I would have to look it up to see what the actual contract says and what kind of, if they do lay out what they do offer.
They do, okay. So if at least in that contract, they provided its detail and they've given us a breakdown of what the services will be, at least that would be something we could look at to determine if there's a reasonable price associated with those services above and beyond, obviously, what they've been giving us.
Mm-hmm.
I would think a good percentage of this increase has to do with the pandemic, as opposed to them increasing price-wise the services they already provided. I could be wrong, but what would be wonderful is if in that breakdown they are actually allocating a price element to each of the categories. I'm probably being super hopeful in getting that.
Real helpful, yeah. No, I don't. I'm having a hard time because I'm not at using my regular computer, but I know they don't break that down like that in the contract.
So we'd be kind of at the mercy, unless, like Alan was referencing, unless we had a third party who understands the cost or the expense of these services to determine whether or not it's a reasonable number or not. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And we would have to base it off of numbers for Mendon, and I don't think I've gotten one of those quarterly things that they used to do since like the end of 2019, middle of 2019.
So I take it that this increase is being applied to all the other towns around us. Is that true?
I don't know because when I first started, I had to formulate your budget and everything. I did call Northbridge and Milford, and asked them if they knew, and I had actually talked to Medway too. None of them had approached the VNA to find out what their FY22 contract amount was going to be. So when I told them what we currently had to what we were going to do, they were quite shocked and concerned as far as what was the VNA going to come back to them on theirs, because they were all much more expensive than Mendon.
Well, they're, larger, some of those are larger communities and
Exactly.
they're gonna price accordingly, I know. I just don't know if at this point, is it possible as a suggestion to use your network to reach out with your contacts and say, hey, out of curiosity, have you guys got your contract for, FY22, and what does it kind of look like? What are they presenting you with?
Sure, because I'll be at the clinic tomorrow, so I'm working with Jean from Northbridge tomorrow. I'll see the girls from Uxbridge, Medway's not part of it, so I would have to call her, and don't know if anyone from Milford's coming in tomorrow or not.
Yeah,
But
just be
if
curious.
not, I could always reach out to Jackie anyways.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Chairman?
That's all I've got on this, as long as Missy hopefully gets permission to talk with Cindy and lays the whole thing on her. That would be, because right now, like Alan stated, I feel that if we're not making payments, we're going to lose coverage come July 1st. They're going to say, screw you, see you later.
I did.
All I have on.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I know we kind of segued to the VNA, and I actually did have just a couple little things under the COVID topic.
Go ahead.
Missy and I were talking earlier today. A little while back, Dan Beyer had reached out to us to ask us what our viewpoint was on lifting a restriction that we had initially imposed on the parks with regard to the use of the court at night, and ask whether or not that, from our perspective, whether or not that should continue, or should we at this point consider lifting that restriction. And then the other part, kind of in concert with that, is do we want to consider, are there other restrictions that we may have implemented ourselves back in the beginning of this pandemic locally that we now feel we might be in a position to lift, so that any and all guidance is coming consistently at the state level. The other one I could think of potentially might be senior center. I don't know if we had actually, I think it was from our board that we actually advised that they not operate, and should we now technically lift that? So those are the two things.
Okay. That's it for me on that subject. I believe we've covered it, right, Missy?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing is I think because Dan's looking to be able to turn the lights back on the basketball courts. There was a vote that you guys took back last year as far as closing or not allowing certain things going on. I'm just going to pull it up real quick. And I think what Tom's looking for is to, Alan made a motion to close town properties, including the playground, to the public until further notice. I don't remember, maybe you guys did, doing away with that motion, that vote. And I don't know if that's what Tom's talking about, undoing.
Yes, I'm essentially looking to undo or cancel any restrictions that we might have put in play locally, and moving forward consistently have the guidance at the state level be the reference that any and all entities should follow to, if anything, to alleviate confusion and to allow for consistency.
Mr. Chairman?
Sir,
Tom, thank you very much for bringing that up. That was last March, and I have to tell you, closing the senior center has bothered me every day since. I like your idea, and I like the fact that if we were to follow whatever the state has for guidelines, it would definitely eliminate some confusion, and we should be able to open some of this stuff up, especially where the elderly population had an opportunity to receive their vaccinations first. I think we should be able to open stuff up. So please, thank you very much for bringing that up, Tom. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
I agree with you that I didn't realize that we were more stringent. I guess I missed that somehow. Might have been a meeting I wasn't here because none of that sounded familiar.
Andy, that actually took place last March 16th when COVID first started happening.
Yeah.
So I think it's more of a housekeeping issue than anything else.
And I believe that's the meeting, Andy, that you were not at. I think that was the one at the town hall.
Okay.
Yeah, so
That's
you,
why it doesn't sound familiar.
exactly, right.
So we're going to release that now and go by state guidelines?
Yeah, I would
That
say
would be
so.
what I would want to do.
Does that require a vote, Missy?
I would do a vote. Hold on, because I just got out of those minutes online. Hold on.
Tom Ryder, I apologize. I just realized that you're still waiting in the wing for 65 and 67 Hartford Ave. We should pay attention to that next time so that you're not hanging on listening to us babble, and we don't want to hold you up.
Not a problem. You're entertaining.
Yeah.
That's what we try to be, entertaining, educational and
Yeah.
entertaining.
So Andy, the motion that was made last March was, Alan made a motion to close town property, including playgrounds, to the public until further notice. So I would
And
say,
at that time, was the state that stringent?
that I believe that's when everything really started happening. So I'm not sure if the governor had already started doing things or if we were like, who came first? I don't know.
Okay, so with that being said, if we were to release what happened last March in the town of Mendon,
Mhm.
currently today, I know there's changes coming, I think it's Friday.
Mhm.
Currently today, how would that leave the parks and the senior center if we took away our regulation or our recommendation, whatever you want to call it? What would the state be saying as far as these things?
I would say it would be more sector specific as far as, with the Parks Department. I know things are going to change on Friday as far as wearing masks outdoors. You'll be able to not have to wear a mask if you can still socially distance. So if you've got a group of kids that are down the basketball courts and they want to play basketball, technically they should still be wearing a mask. But if you're someone that's going to walk through those trails back there and you're 6 feet away from the next grouping of people, you don't have to wear a mask.
Just a thought, consideration. I'm wondering if, to avoid any confusion, instead of releasing that tonight, if the governor is making changes on Friday, then we mirror that time, that date and time, to release our stronghold on it so that everything happens at once, and that way there's no confusion.
Good idea.
You can do that, it's, because really, because because technically, okay, the town properties are closed. Once you technically, I would say, vote to undo that, more of the onus really will be put on the selectmen as far as when are you going to open up town hall? When are you going to open up the senior center to the public and things like that? And I think this is really more of a housekeeping issue because we've been following the state guidance all along. I just think it's just something that just cleans it up that, here you have a formal vote that, you can start opening things back up. Because like if you go to town hall, as far as I know, everyone's fully vaccinated. It doesn't mean that if the select board decided to open up the town hall next week, it doesn't mean that it's a free for all and everybody can walk in and out with a mask, blah, blah, without a mask or anything like that. It would still mean that the doors are open, but if someone comes into your office or comes into your building, that's for me in the building department, whoever's coming in still has to wear a mask and the employee would have to put their mask on. It's just more flow, more people being able to actually enter town hall. But that's a call of the selectmen. I don't know. I do know there are other town halls that are still closed. I believe Upton is looking at June 1st to opening back up.
Okay. Very good. I have a side note, if I can interject, if we're done with this subject.
I'm good.
Are we good?
Are we deciding
We're good with-
not to change? Is that what I'm hearing? Majority is to keep it in play?
Until the state changes, right?
Well, so with regard to that, let me just add that the state's always making changes, right? And that's been one of the issues that we've been experiencing right along throughout this entire reopening process. They're consistently making changes. They change the changes. And that's been one of the very frustrating situations that I'd say lots of local boards of health have been dealing with from the state perspective. My view is that if we could simply wait for this next round, which I guess would be fine, but there's always going to be more changes that the state is going to make and more allowances. I'm coming at it from the standpoint of just having one less level of guideline that somebody has to follow or consider and keep it consistent at the state level, which is what, as Missy pointed out, is what we've been following all along from the standpoint of enforcement. We're letting the state's been kind of running the show, and we simply have been responding to situations that come to us from a complaint standpoint. To me, it would just fall in line with letting the state be the focal point consistently moving forward. That was my view.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
I agree. I don't see why we can't make a motion at this time just to mirror whatever the state's guidelines are and stay current with them. I did hear today that there's a plan that goes all the way into August or September that the state released as far as opening things up. So by making a motion from this point forward or until further notice that we're just going to mirror the state's guidance, will allow things to open up following their time schedule. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
I like that. Everybody in agreement on that?
So then what I would just say is that either Tom or Alan makes a motion to rescind the previous motion made on March 16th, closing town properties, including playgrounds, to the public until further notice, and adding that this from here on forward, the Board of Health will follow whatever the opening procedures, standards, guidance comes down for the state, as far as reopening buildings, town hall or other businesses.
Well
So,
said.
what you
Motion
said.
made.
All righty.
Seconded. Give it to Alan, I'll second it. All in favor?
Okay,
Aye.
Aye.
that's my line, sorry.
Where's the
So
gavel?
we all set on this? Is he?
Yes.
As far as I know, yep.
Okay, so just real quick, I just got a text that you'll all be interested in. Did all of you see Danielle's the voicemail and Danielle's recommendation about the rooming house? Tom, did you
No.
see it?
I have not, no.
All right. It's a voicemail from a resident at 10 Main Street. Mark Scott's place, third floor. No, he's complaining about someone on the third floor, and he goes in quite in depth about filth, cockroaches, accusations. The similar type thing that we went through with Dave Coronet over there. Dave Coronet is on the second floor, so this does not concern him. He's actually been keeping up. I had a conversation with the property owner today, called him this first thing this morning when I saw the email early, and he said he would check into it. This is the property owner. He just texted me and said